All right, this is Larry Tamblyn. I'm the founder and first lead singer of the Standells. Formed the group in 1962, and I've stayed with it all these years, and it's still going strong. My father and mother met on Broadway in vaudeville. My older brother is Russ Tamblyn. After he was in West Side Story, Seven Brides or Seven Brothers. You know, he was more recently in Twin Peaks, which they're bringing back on Showtime this year. His daughter is Amber Tamblyn, who's in Joan of Arcadia. She was in Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. She was on House for a while. Basically, it is a show business family. I just happen to choose music. The Standells just kind of fell into that raunchy sounding, in-your-face type of rock that nobody else seemed to have. That's where the label punk rock later came in. You know, I don't particularly like labels, but if they're going to label us with something I prefer right now, it seems to fit the garage rock. We were kind of the one they referred to as the originators of garage rock. The very first lineup back in '62 was myself, Tony Valentino, Jody Rich, and another guy named Benny King. We were all out of the Los Angeles area. In the early days, we did a surprising amount of film before we ever had our hit record. It was basically one of our managers had connections with the film industry. They were looking for groups to put in films and TV shows, you know, as quick as they could get them. They had us in a movie called Get Yourself a College Girl. That was the first one that we did. The following year, we started doing television shows. We were called to join Bing Crosby. He had a television show. He couldn't identify with the music, but his daughter thought it was real square until he had us over to his house and we performed for them. One song, Bing Crosby even sang with us. That was Kansas City. Right before we started to film that, they said, quiet on the set, rolling. And all of a sudden, I started singing, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. And everybody in the set cracked up. They were rolling. And Bing Crosby, you know, he had a very sly sense of humor, and he looked over at me and he says, you're putting me on. We were called in to do several different television shows. We were in Ben Casey, played a nightclub band. Plus, we did a lot of teenage shows like Shindig, Shebang, Joey Bishop's Show, an American Bandstand. And in the Munsters, we played ourselves. And this was all before we had our first hit record. At that time, the Munsters was my favorite show. Just to be on it was a thrill, and to be paid for it was an extra thrill. That show is probably about as popular as Dirty Water is. I think everybody has seen that. We've got more mileage out of that than I think anything else. We made a few changes and added singer and drummer Dick Dodd, and he's the one that sang Dirty Water. Dirty Water was not written by the Standells. You know, many people have claimed differently, but although we wrote a lot of the song, we never got writing credits for it. It was presented to us by Ed Cobb, who was our producer. It sounded like a blues song, and there wasn't much to it, and I got to be honest, we weren't that impressed with it. I said, well, you know, let us take and arrange it, and let's see what we come up with. Tony Valentino had that wonderful guitar riff. Dick added a lot of the vocal styling. He added a lot of the lyrics, and then I changed the chord structure a bit so that it wasn't a straight seventh, but an extended seventh. Musicians would know what I'm talking about. We came up with a very unique song, and we recorded it in a converted garage. It was pretty funky there. After our first hit record, we were in the film Ride on Sunset Strip. We did the theme song in that, and we were on the first group on film, you know, in a nightclub there. Basically it, as far as our film, we had an awful lot back in those days, especially for, you know, a group that's mostly unknown. Yeah, sometimes Good Guys Don't Wear White. Again, it was written by Ed Cobb. We recorded it up in Seattle. We had to rush an album together, like about 3 or 4 days to record the album. And Good Guys was one of the songs we recorded on that. So that was originally part of the Dirty Water album. And then after Dirty Water hit the charts, they were looking for a follow-up. And of course, it was Sometimes Good Guys Don't Wear White. That song really exemplifies what the Standells were about. It's kind of us against them. It was really kind of a very defiant type of song. That was our next hit. They actually pulled it off the album and put it on a new album. The new album was White Pick on Me, Sometimes Good Guys Don't Play White album. So that we had all of the songs on that album. Good Guys was part of that, as well as White Pick on Me. Gary left the group on our first tour. He couldn't take touring, so we added bass player John Black, and he was the one that played on Try It. We had our third chart record, and we were looking for something really hard-hitting, and we got a hold of this song. We just knew it was a hit. In fact, Billboard magazine tagged it as Standells' next #1 single. That's how good it was. And all of the stations began to play it. Well, at the same time, Gordon McClendon decided to, form this committee and listen to lyrics in records and not play the ones that they objected to. And they used our record Try It as the foundation of this whole campaign. Maybe the way that Dick Dodd sang it was a little sexy, but who didn't sing sexy back then, And the record was number one selling record in Los Angeles. And yet only KRLA would play it. KHJ would not. Art Linkletter had this show, House Party. He had this segment on called Let's Talk, where he'd have different factions debating each other. So he got a hold of McClendon and us to debate each other. We did our homework on McClendon. I think we really made him look like a fool. And they came out with a show. They edited it and made it look like it was more even than it was. We met the Stones tour in New York. One night, Mick and Brian Jones, who was alive at that time, and Keith Richards and Bill Wyman invited me to the hotel suite to have dinner. It was New York steak. Well, I made the mistake of asking for ketchup. And Mick Jagger looked at me and he says, "Fucking Yank." And everybody cracks up, being British, they would never hear such a thing. We're still doing concerts. We did a nationwide tour. Love the people at Sundazed. I've noticed the work they've done, and it's very, very good. Not only Standells Live, bringing back the entire Standells catalog and all of the original covers and in vinyl, no less. The work they've done on the albums is just fantastic. They really seem to stick to the feel of how it was back in the 60s.